Region Review.
The Raging Cajuns will be a source of pride for this university, for the alumni, fans, and donors as we achieve success in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in the community.
It's about to get really fun.
We're looking for dudes that will stand up. Well, Coach, let me tell you today, I'm here and I'm ready to stand up. And I challenge you, Raging Cajun Nation, to stand up with us. Stand up with us. Let's lock hand in hand and let's walk through the gates of Omaha.
Hey, I love y'all boys. Let's grind every day starting today. Let's do it. Y'all ready? Alert! Ready? Who's that team ready? Who's that team ready? Yes, sir.
I got one thing to say right here. Cajuns win!
Hello, what's up, everybody? Good evening, Cajun Nation, and welcome to another edition of the Region Review podcast. I'm Jerry, joined by Nick. Lane will probably be here a little bit later as he heads over to from work. But tonight, got lots to talk about. Louisiana coming off a 11-day break as they will face Arkansas State for homecoming this weekend. Got some Cajuns basketball. Season just started. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about what's going on around the Sun Belt Conference and where the Cajuns standings lie and what they need to do to fulfill that destiny of not only winning the Western Division, but making it to the conference championship. Cajuns, we'll talk about a little bit of top 25 action as the Cajuns, both polls are right outside the top 25. And we got lots more other than just that. Man, in the 10 days the Cajuns have been off, we've had a lot going on. We had Halloween, we had an election. The Saints are now looking for a head coach.
Hallelujah, baby. I don't have to bring out the bag anymore.
I was about to say, I think it's time to get back to some normality with some Raging Cajuns football, Raging Cajun sport. What do you think, man?
First of all, I think I am solely responsible for Dennis Allen being fired. And the reason I'm saying that is because after the game, I made a tweet of Dennis Allen's head coaching record, which was at 26-53, I believe.
It sucked.
Yeah, and I put the clip of Mickey Loomis saying, I believe he's a good coach. And that got, I think, 200,000 impressions on Twitter and hundreds of likes and retweets and quotes and all that good stuff. So I would like to think 24 hours after posting that, he was fired. Gail's watching me, man. Gail's watching me. She's listening. Now I just need to do a Mickey Loomis needs to be fired tweet, and then we'll be all happy.
Look, he should have been reprimanded at a minimum back in January as he's chewing his gum. And then all of a sudden starts talking about, oh, well, I had this prepared. And he pulls out a flashcard and starts listing records of like coaches in their first seasons, which included Bill Belichick, Tom Landry, Chuck Noll, Bill Walsh, and I think there was one more.
It doesn't matter. It's
but
stupid.
He listed,
it was ridiculous.
He listed that, but one thing he didn't do,
while chewing gum like a 12-year-old girl, by the way.
But his point was, he's like, well, you know, we can look at the results the first couple of years, but it takes time. And one thing he didn't do, not one time while he listed all of those coaches who, by the way, each of them won multiple Super Bowls, while Dennis Allen has never even made the playoffs as a head coach. He did not one time list Dennis Allen's first 3 years in Oakland, which got him fired. So, yeah, I'm as relieved as I am that the Saints are making a coaching change. There's still some issues in the front office that needs to be fixed. And that was the first red flag for me with Mickey Loomis. And look, he's done some great things. He's been with the organization. He's been the GM since 2001 or 2002, and he's done some great things. But unless things change, sometimes time passes you by. And
well, Jerry, I mean, we're barely beating a D2 team. So I'm just saying, good coach, did a lot of great things for the university. We'll talk about that later. I don't want to get into it. And Caden Jensen's, I think this is his dad, Mitch, chiming in talking about getting fans out there. We will address that later. I got a whole rant to go on about homecoming in a little bit. But we will certainly bring this comment back up about people showing up for homecoming this year.
No doubt about it. So let's get to it. First of all, we'll put a bow and gift wrap this win that the Cajuns had last week in San Marcos. As everybody remembers, Cajuns went down to San Marcos. It felt like a year ago, which it was last Tuesday. But Louisiana went down and got a huge win against the Bobcats, and they were able to pull away in the end by the score of 23-17. And I have to say that this was a game where defensively the team showed up and they were able to compete with that up-tempo offense of Texas State's, and they held a high-scoring team, which was averaging 34 points a game, to only 17 points. And they made the plays when they needed to in all three phases. Kenny Almendaris, 3 for 3 on field goals, clutch field goals. Offensively, they did what they had to do to make enough first downs, score enough points, and the defense, again, made the key stops. And that turned into walking out with a victory from a really, really tough Texas State team. And I think that's the Cajuns' 12th win in a row against Texas State. They're currently undefeated against Texas State, 12-0. And now Louisiana's record sits at 7-1 and 4-0 in conference play. And Louisiana now controls their own destiny in the conference. So huge win. Again, 11-day break. I'm hoping that, they're well rested. I know health-wise, outside of Keon Martin, most players, just about everybody should be back against Arkansas State. I know the players want this game after what happened last year, but let's talk about Texas State real quickly. Like I said, we'll gift wrap it and put a bow on it and tear it up before I had talking about Arkansas State. Nick, I got to tell you, that was a game that everybody had circled on the calendar. I had a really bad feeling about that game only because Texas State, we kind of knew they're a lot better. GJ Kinney has done a hell of a job over there in the short time that he's been there. The culture's changed. They're winning. But at the same time, I was also nervous because, again, this was a perfect opportunity for them. Midweek game on national TV, ESPN2. Perfect time to catch us off guard and beat us for the first time. I mean, all of the factors leading into that game to me felt like it favored Texas State. But, both teams need to, just as much as they were ready, we were too. And I thought we went in with a great game plan. And, it was a game won in the trenches. For a team that loves to spread the field, I still thought we did a good job playing our brand of football in the trenches, keeping them thrown off in all three phases and coming out and getting a hard-fought win.
I don't know if I agree with you 100% about winning in the trenches. I think we did enough to win. I thought Texas State was dominant on the defensive side of the ball at the line, especially in the second half of the ball game. What I did see was defensively for us, there were some things I did not like. Well, there were things I didn't like on both sides of the ball. Penalties, number one. We've got to cut that crap out because that was absolutely ridiculous. But I'm starting to understand Salgado a little bit because he comes from the NFL. And when you watch NFL football games, defenses are going to allow a lot between the 20s. Between the 20s, you're going to see teams moving the ball against each other pretty easily. When they get inside the 20, inside the red zone, things tighten up a lot. And I'm starting to see that from our team, understanding that, sometimes there's still misassignments. Sometimes our defensive line's not holding up as they should. Sometimes we're not blocking well on the interior against the run. However, when you have an NFL caliber defensive coordinator like Salgado, you have to think that factors into it. So I think the game plan continues to be try to defend between the 20s, but we're not going to really stiffen up until we get inside the 20-yard line. And it's worked. I mean, you look at how it's worked over the past few weeks, and that's really what has happened. Between the 20s, it's guys can move the ball on us. Not saying we don't stop them, but it's a lot easier to move the ball on us once you get inside that red zone. We're a tough team to move the ball and score on. So if we can keep holding teams to field goals, I will be very happy with that. And as long as we can have Kenny, the kicker, do what he does, and when we don't convert on fourth down inside the red zone or even outside the red zone, hell, he can kick it from 60 as far as I'm concerned. When you have the confidence in your kicker to get points on the board, it's a really good sign for you for the rest of the season. So I think we saw that against Texas State. Still think we need to do have some better defense on the interior line against the run. And I think, I think Arkansas State, we'll talk about in a little bit. They pass their pass first offense. But they do run the ball a little bit. It didn't translate necessarily this season to touchdowns, but if they see an opportunity with our interior defensive line to run the ball on us, they are probably going to test it early. So I think that's going to be a key to the game. But again, we'll talk about that later. I just think, look, when you're on the road against a team that, like you said, with the win streak of 10 games, every game from this point forward, we're going to have that big question mark. Is this it? Is this the game? So it's going to be tough going forward, but really, really pleased on the way the guys performed. And I see Mitch Jensen, Caden got a big touchdown this week. So all in all, pleased with the performance. And, I don't want to go back and talk about the negatives because it's a win against Texas State. We're 7-1. There's not a whole lot of negative there, Jerry. I'm happy.
Well, I thought where they beat us was, and they beat us in the flat, and they beat us when they spread the field on the boundaries.
But
because
between
if
the
you
20s.
notice,
Between the 20s.
well, if you notice, whenever they would get their first downs, there were a lot of screen passes on the outside. It wasn't necessarily within the hash marks, right? And I think that's where, that's their strength. And so we kind of knew going in that was going to be their strength. But I thought we did a good job containing Ishmael Mahdi a little bit. I know their quarterback went down and Martinez came in, and he actually did a really good job for a second string quarterback. But at the same time, I thought we kind of slowed the game down offensively a little bit more than I expected, which, when you play a team like that, that's kind of good because you kind of throw off their offense, their groove a little bit because they love going up tempo. So, I think, no, to your point, I think we do need to improve a little bit between the 20s and not let teams, get too much yardage and put them in position to score. At the same time, I got to give credit to the defense for tightening up in the red zone. I thought they did a really good job outside of that. I think they had like one drive where they gave up that touchdown, but for the most part, in those first two drives, see, that's where Texas State gets you. If you notice, a lot of their teams score early. And whenever they do that, it's always because of those first drives where they have like 10 to 15 plays memorized and they just go. I thought by us holding them to field goals, we threw them off out of a groove, and it kind of set the tempo for the rest of the game. But anyway, Lane, so glad you can join us, buddy. How are you?
How's it going? Doing pretty good.
So I got to ask, man, you put a lot of travel mileage into last week because you took the trip down to San Marcos. Talk a little bit about the experience. Talk about the whole environment down there. You took a lot of great pictures for us. We appreciate that. Just was that your first time down there? How did you like the interaction with the fans? How was their tailgating scene? How was San Marcos? Just talk a little bit about the experience down at Texas State.
All right. So I didn't get there till later in the evening, so I didn't get to check out the tailgating side of things. But from what I gathered, they're great people. The interaction was great. There was a few. I mean, I was on the student side, so there was like some back and forth with them, but wasn't anything too crazy. It was a Tuesday, so I wasn't expecting a huge crowd, but I was expecting a lot more than what they had. I don't remember the announced attendance, but I know it was
16, maybe.
less.
Yeah, I think it was 16. Yeah.
Yeah, it was maybe 10, if that. Now their halftime stuff was actually pretty cool. The light show and all that, I don't know if the Cajuns have done that yet. I know they got new lighting, but overall, I thought it was a great experience to be able to go on the road and enjoy the environment. And but yeah, it was great to see us get a win on the road in person. I haven't been able to do that before, so that's been cool. Or out of the state anyway. I've been to Monroe and a few others, but yeah, that to be able to do that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So, no, we do. By the way, we do the light show after every touchdown now. That's something that's new this season, and they're pretty much doing a trial run for the new stadium once it opens, or the new side of the stadium next year. But I got to ask, as far as like the quality of the actual stadium, they redid it and expanded on it about a decade ago when they moved up to the FBS level, came into the Sun Belt Conference. Did you think, based on what they kind of need, or for a 30,000 seat stadium, did you feel like it was kind of a perfect fit for them? Like kind of kind of what Texas State is like, what's necessary for them, I guess, like the whole layout and the way the
Yes.
crowd, like for crowd interaction and.
Yes and no. I mean, they got the end zone field house, I guess, that they're still working on. But with the amount of students they have, I would think they would have made the away side a little bit bigger, because I mean they have 40,000 students. And obviously their stadium doesn't fit that many. But I think they could have made it a little bit taller, I guess, or more spread out, because I feel like they can benefit with that. Now, it's kind of like what our stadium is going to be, the setup anyway. But yeah, that's what I feel like.
Okay. All right. Well, we're glad to hear that that you brought us home a win. Yeah. I got to ask, man, and I know you took some pictures and you were giving us an update. When Keon Martin went down, that whole stadium must have been silent. Like, I'm sure everybody was just like on their toes, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it felt flat. Like, I honestly don't know how they played football after that. As soon as it happened, I tweeted it out and everything. And then when they gathered around him, I tweeted out the picture. But like, the amount of silence, you could hear a pin drop there. But to see that live, I'm sure seeing it on TV was bad, but seeing it live was like, oh crap, like he's not moving at all. But thankfully he is okay and he's healing up okay. So that is good.
Well, I do have good news for everybody. Keon Martin is going to be fine. Obviously, he got released from the hospital and came home. He did suffer a concussion and a stinger. So basically, he got his bell rung, and then he got the stinger, which didn't allow him to move. So thankfully, it was just something that wasn't as major as what happened on the actual field, right? So, yeah, he did get a concussion. So he was knocked out, but he did have a stinger. So there was no spinal injury or nothing like that. Praise the Lord. Yeah. And I know, I do know that he will be back in a few weeks. He should be good to go, so.
I know Des said he didn't want to rush him back, obviously, but he said he's hoping he'll be back for next week.
Yeah, which is great.
His presser, so
that is miraculous. Okay, that is straight up miraculous after what we saw last Tuesday night. So we're so glad that Keon's back in the groove of things.
Can I yell at Andy Thomas real quick? Am I okay to do that, Jerry? Andy just sent a comment. Can y'all live stream the basketball game? He doesn't like switching back and forth. Hey, how about you grow up, get an Apple TV, put YouTube on it on the TV, put us on your phone? I mean, come on, man. Be a grown up.
This is 2024, bro. Yeah. This is 2024.
You know what, Jerry? You have no room to talk, Boomer. We're not going to talk about your computer
setup. I literally
have
have the basketball game on my phone, laying on my computer as we speak. Okay, so I don't want to hear your nonsense right now.
So you're better than Andy. Holy cow, Andy! You got to get your stuff together, man.
No doubt, dude. Look, a college game day. I got the laptop, the 75-inch screen TV. I got the phone. I might even take my daughter's. iPad. I don't know, but
taking iPads away from kids, little girls. You should feel sorry. You should feel bad.
I know, terrible. But anyways, so well, no, I'm glad that you made the trip down there, Lane. I'm glad you can bring us a win. I'm glad that it was a good experience. Thankfully, the win helped the drive a little, be more worthwhile than driving 6 or 7 hours back with a loss.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyways, so like I said, let's close this thing out. So again, Cajuns get the win on the road. So Lane, what did you get out of this game?
Got that we are still in that bend don't break style of defense, which I think we need to get out of. We were able to stop them when we needed to and when we absolutely had to. But I felt like we were better on offense than they were. If only we could have exchanged a couple of field goals for touchdowns, that would have been even better. But I feel like they they couldn't stop us that much, but when they did, it led to the field goals.
Good. Well, look, we went on the road. We got the win. It was a nice win, a huge win. Cajuns, again, they're 7-1 because of it. And, 12 straight against Texas State, 12-0 against Texas State. I appreciate the 3 of their fans talking trash, but they got kind of quiet afterwards.
Yeah.
I guess it's
bad.
better than nothing.
It was so bad, though, man. That was the worst trash talking I think I've ever heard.
Well, at least, look, A for effort. At least they tried.
They probably have more fans than ULM. So,
yeah. Well, no, the ULM fans are coming out the woodworks now all of a sudden because they're winning again.
Are they?
Not in the last
not
2 weeks.
Anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, not
They've
anymore.
gone pretty quiet. Yeah.
Anyway, but speaking of winning, that's what the Cajuns are doing. So, let's move on. Looking forward to Arkansas State. Again, this week, Cajuns will be taking on the Arkansas State Red Wolves. Kickoff will be at 4:00 this Saturday at Cajun Field for homecoming. Arkansas State comes in with a 5-3 record, 3-1 in conference. And believe it or not, Lane, this game is a huge game and has a lot of factors weighing on it for the Sun Belt Western Division. We're number 1 in the West. They're number 2. They got the best of us last year. They beat us pretty handily in Arkansas State, probably our worst game of the year in Jonesboro, losing 37-17. So I know the players and the coaches want this game pretty badly. I'm hoping that this team, that 11-day break helps us. Like I said, we're pretty healthy for the most part, but Arkansas State's been pretty impressive lately. They've had some decent wins. They went to Michigan, played Michigan well. But they haven't really been, outside of that, they really haven't been playing well on the road outside their win at Southern Miss. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Talking a little bit about Arkansas State. Arkansas State, they're averaging 24 points right now. Nick, can you read the stats for me real quick, if you don't mind?
So I don't have the stats in front of me, but what I will talk about before you come back to that is, I think what concerns me a little bit, passing offense, and I'm talking about NCAA rankings. Okay. Passing offense for Louisiana is ranked 34th in the country. Arkansas State is 45th. I think, when you look at those two offenses, Arkansas State passes the ball a lot, but they only score 24 points a game. And you look at Louisiana, we score, I think 10, 11 more points a game. So I think that's going to come in to be a factor when you look at our passing offense. Rushing offense is there's a big difference there. You got Louisiana that's ranked 44th in the NCAA in rushing offense, and you've got Arkansas State 93rd in the country in rushing offense. So I think obviously the advantage offensively is going to go to Louisiana, especially on the rushing side of the ball. Now, will our offensive line be able to open those holes up for Dre and for the rest of the running back core? Yeah, I think we'll be able to have plenty of success on the rushing side of the ball. But it'll be interesting to see what Arkansas State does. And I was alluding to that earlier, Lane. Do you think, from what we saw against Texas State last week, we saw them successfully run the ball against us? Our interior defensive line, to me, hasn't been blocking that well against the run lately. Now earlier in the season we were, but the last couple of weeks it hasn't been great. Do you think Arkansas State comes in trying to run the ball first, or do you think they stick to their guns and try to throw it? It's a toss up for me. I'm not sure what kind of strategy they're coming in with. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I'm really not sure. I know that Texas State obviously has Motti and Perry, I think. But I haven't really heard a lot about Arkansas State's running backs this year. So it could be a hit and miss. It could be, like you said, they come try to rush first. But I think their bread and butter is the passing game. But it also depends on how well our defense can handle the passing game, their passing game.
Basically, what opportunities we give them, to be honest with you.
Yeah. We don't really give up the deep ball that often, so I feel like that's what they would try to do. But as long as we can handle that, I think we've got it in the bag.
Yeah, so looking at the rushing stats, they've gained 13 119 yards in the rushing game, for a total of 9 touchdowns on the season. Louisiana 1540 for 13 touchdowns. So again, I the yards gained comparatively close, but again, that's not necessarily translating into touchdowns for Arkansas State. Passing wise, again, their bread and butter is in the passing game. They've got 2,005 total yards of passing on the season versus Louisiana's 2,100 yards of passing on the season. They are scoring 10 touchdowns on the season in the air. Louisiana has scored 16 touchdowns through the air. So again, comparatively, they're a little better than us as far as the yardage goes, but not necessarily translating into touchdowns. Also for Arkansas State, their total offense, let me see if I could pull up that number, because I had that on my list of numbers as far as rankings across the country. Oh, excuse me, rushing defense. That's what I was going to talk about next. So rushing defense for Arkansas State is 125th in the country. I think there is going to be, there's going to be a huge opportunity for us to really pound the ball this weekend. But do we take that opportunity? You know, sometimes we kind of pull our hair out because we stick to our guns and we want to pass first. And I'm not going to argue with wanting to pass first. I love Ben, but I think that's going to open up a lot for the play action, because man, Ben is so good when he's back behind the center doing some play action passing. To me, that's when he's at his best, and it's really when our offense is at its best, when we can force teams to respect the run, and then you get that little play action there. It really opens up the playbook for us. So I think, again, being ranked 125th defensively against the run is going to be a key statistic for us this weekend to try to capitalize on what's, going by the rankings, a pretty poo-poo rushing defense for Arkansas State. Time of possession for Arkansas State, 29 minutes per game versus Louisiana's 32 minutes per game. Again, we want to control the clock, and you do that by rushing the ball, which I think we're going to do. I think we're going to, again, try to open up the play action, and that starts with running the football against a really, again, ranked 125th in the NCAA in rushing defense. I think we have a good chance to make some headway there. Penalties for Arkansas State, 49 penalties average yards per game, 49 yards per game for Arkansas State versus 46 yards per game for Louisiana. Guys, we have to clean up the penalties. Do you think, Jerry, that was a focus this week? I mean, we keep saying it week after week, but I mean, I don't know what the deal is, but the last couple of weeks has just been ugly in that regard.
Yeah, I think it's the things that we can control. The pre-snap penalties, the false starts, that's the kind of stuff we need to fix, especially when, we have short yardage on third downs. You don't want to have to get, pull a false start. And now it's, instead of 3rd and 2, it's 3rd and 7, right? Those are things that we can control. I did hear that, let's just say the Sun Belt Conference felt a little apologetic towards the way they officiated that game last week. So that was something I thought was pretty interesting, that they would come back and say, hey, we messed up on our part, because every week we send film to the Sun Belt office, especially the officiating crew, and just kind of tell them, hey, we wanted to see what you guys saw here, what you guys saw there. And from what I was told, usually you send about 10 plays per team per game. We sent 16. So just to give you an idea of the poor officiating down in San Marcos, got to the point where, let's just say that, we definitely found out from the conference office, hey, maybe we messed up a little bit. So, like I said, those are things we can't control if we have better officiating, but the procedural penalties are things we need to fix. I mean, we have to clean up the false start penalties, especially now, this time of year, where the window of making mistakes starts to shrink, because now we're starting to, we're playing for the race for the conference. So definitely this week we need to improve on that. And, especially with the fact that Arkansas State's defense doesn't look statistically impressive, this is a perfect weekend to improve on that. If they're giving up over 200 yards rushing, giving over 200 yards passing. They play more of his own defense, which will give Ben some opportunities to get some passing yardage and give our receivers and tight ends some opportunities. This is a good weekend to kind of spruce things up offensively and really click. So that starts with not making any goofy penalties, But yeah, that's definitely something we need to fix. Those false start penalties. There's way too many, especially for our veteran linemen. We got a lot of veterans on the offensive line. They should know better.
Yeah, I agree. I noticed that a lot of those penalties last week were just unnecessary. It didn't need to happen. And it kind of got in the way of what we were trying to do. Speaking of penalties or lack thereof, what do y'all feel about quote unquote faking injuries? Because I noticed that a lot happened a lot last week.
So my thought on that is, I think Texas State is known to fake injuries, and this goes back to when they played Arkansas State earlier in the season. Their fans were calling them out. They are known for doing that. I think you saw, and by the way, I got a good GIF out there to the Texas State fans who were saying, "Oh, look at Louisiana faking another penalty and faking another injury," and then I showed them the GIF of their player actually running off the field and then all of a sudden collapsing like he just died. And then they go and they fiddle with him for 2 seconds and then he runs off the field again. So I think Texas State does it as a strategy, because if you noticed, every time towards the beginning of the game, I mean, even in the second half, we received the ball, we run one play, they gain some yards, and then some guy goes down. So I think we knew going in they were going to do that, and I think it was a little bit of a mind game from Des. I really do.
Yeah, now, I agree.
What do I think we need to do to correct it? I think a sensible way is saying if you get injured on the play, you have to sit out for the entire series. However, somebody did make a good point. That could lead to players hiding their injuries so they don't have to sit out an entire series. So I think I would rather, I mean, obviously I don't want a player playing hurt through a series. I think they need to be educated on the fact that, look, you can go back to the next series. If you go down for an injury, let's take care of you and come back in. I think that's a psychological and an educational thing that you have to talk to the players about separately. But I do believe if you're going to start this nonsense of an Ole Miss or Texas State just faking an injury every time, a team gets a first down and has a little bit of momentum, then I think you have to address it some way. And I think it is, I mean, I don't know any other way than to address it and say you got to sit out the whole series. I mean, outside of that, what can you do? I mean, okay, let's go back and review it. I mean, because there was that one play where the guy clearly went down, it was BS. But then again, you can't really review. How can you judge? How can you say 100% sure that the kid wasn't injured? You can't. So it's just a really tough predicament. And I think it's just something that the league offices across the country need to look at from an NCAA standpoint and come up with something sensible that can address it, because it's getting old, man. I mean, that game lasted way too long because of those stupid fake injuries.
I think if you can, I don't think, Nick, you have to sit out a full series, but I definitely think you need to sit at a minimum of 3 plays, because sometimes 3 plays can turn into a series on a 3 and out. I think if you fall down or you get hurt, like, for example, if you fake an injury because maybe if you're on defense and you fall down because the coach tells you to fall down because your opposition or offense is moving the ball on you and you try to stop their momentum, you need to come off the sidelines for 3 plays at a minimum. That should be the rule. I think that'll stop, like you said, Nick, if the game's on the line, that I think that should be more than enough instead of an entire drive. And look, it's almost, let's be honest, most of these players that are on the field, especially starting 11, they definitely want to be in the game as much as they can. I think if you let them if you fake an injury and you sit out for 3 plays, I think they'll think twice before wanting to go back in or wanting to do that again.
Who's tracking whether or not a guy goes in on the second play or the third play? I mean, let's be honest.
Well,
who's tracking that?
But they're gonna have to figure that out. That's for them to figure out.
Yeah, I just don't think, I don't know.
I did see the SEC came out with something regarding that, where the head coach would be fined for the first 2 offenses and then they'd be suspended, I think.
But how would they know it was fake? I mean,
true.
It's
hard to tell, but I mean,
it's like hard to tell, but it's not. You know, it's hard
The
to
ones
prove,
last week you
what
could
to say.
tell.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It was obvious.
So this game in general, like I said, I know the players want this game and I know the coaches want this game. Arkansas State, we have a history with this team. Arkansas State, just like Louisiana, we were the original Sun Belt members for football. It seems like every time we play them, whether it's in Jonesboro or in Lafayette, there's always some type of drama, or it's always a close game. 2 years ago we played them, we beat them by 20, and I thought that was kind of odd because usually they're close games. But before that we beat them by 7 here. In 18 we played them, Billy Napier's first season. We had to score a last-second touchdown with a huge 4th down conversion on that drive. 2016, Arkansas State looked like they scored. When it come to find out they didn't, we made a goal line stand and basically got a 15-yard penalty because our entire bench erupted, almost starting a brawl. In 2014, they came here and there was a cheap shot at one of the Quaid brothers after Eli McGuire and Alonzo Harris went off for I think a combined 400 to 500 yards rushing on a Tuesday night. It was a very high-scoring game. 2012, they came in and destroyed us at home. 2010, it was the game. It was hot as hell outside and everybody was getting heat stroke, and we were able to win the game at the last minute, almost blowing a 24-point lead in the second half. 2008, the late Brad McGuire led 2 touchdown drives in the final few minutes to win that game down by 9. I mean, I just listed all of our home games for 16 years, dating back to 16 years, and the only game that didn't have drama was in 2022 when we beat them by 20. Are y'all expecting the same type of drama with the circumstances going into Saturday, considering the fact that they're number 2 in the West and they beat us by 20 last year and they've always had a history of playing us close?
No, I mean, I think if we would have beat them by 20 last year, I think I might be a little more worried, but I think Des has done a really, really good job of having guys focus this year for every single game, even the ones that we were nervous about and we might have been unfocused for and worried about the things that we didn't need to be worried about. So no, I don't think there's going to be necessarily drama. I think that Arkansas State is going to come in and play hard as hell. They got their first road win last weekend. They hadn't won on the road this season. They're 1-3 on the road. So they're looking to, they're perfect at home, but couldn't win on the road until last week. So they're going to be looking to continue that streak. So I think they're going to show up. I think they're going to be prepared. I think Rich Jones is going to hopefully have an aneurysm on the sideline so we can catch that on camera because his meltdowns are absolutely fantastic. But I think there's going to be drama? I don't think there's going to be drama. I just think it's going to be a really, really good football game, which I expect that they bring every time. And I think that comes with the territory when you've been playing a team for so freaking long. I mean, I remember in 1996 being invited to homecoming against Arkansas State. I think they even brought the horse and the Indian at the time. And he might have done the stake thing kind of like at FSU on our field. So Arkansas State is very familiar with this. I would argue that we hate each other more than probably any. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a South Alabama baseball hatred that we used to have back in the day, but I will tell you, maybe not from a fan's perspective, but from a player's perspective and a program perspective, we cannot stand, and Arkansas State cannot stand us. Either way, we do not like each other. So do I think dirty stuff's going to happen? No, because I think Butch Jones is better than that. But do I think it's going to be a very hard fought game that Arkansas State's going to bring their best Saturday? Absolutely. Especially it's homecoming. This teams always get a little bit amped up when they're the homecoming team. So I think that's going to play into it too. So I think it's going to be a tough game for us, but it'll be fun.
I find it hilarious. Oh, go ahead, Lane.
I was going to agree with Nick on that last part, especially. I feel like they're more of a true rival in football than, say, ULM, who the conference tries to force us to have a rivalry with. But it always seems like at least in the last several years, that the home team always wins. So that definitely helps us. But I do think that it'll be a good football game. I don't anticipate any weird things happening, but you never know with these two teams.
Before you go, Jerry, got to say, Christian Landry, thanks for chiming in. 2016 at ASU, halftime locker room was the most awkward place he has ever been. 2017 at ASU, HUD tried flipping a table full of water and the wall stopped it, but he got the job done. He spilled enough water so Christian had to clean it up for him. I would have loved to have seen that. Too bad we didn't have the cell phones in the locker room at the time, because that'd have been really funny to watch.
That was the game Arkansas State just destroyed us. It was like 50-3. And I remember Cody Juno was on the field, because actually Kayla and we went to Biloxi for the weekend and we were listening to the game on Radio Pup in my car on the way down there. And I mean, it was just an ugly game from start to finish. And that was when HUD was rotating Nunez, and I think it wasn't Levi. It was the other quarterback. I'm drawing a blank on who it was. Maybe Jordan Davis. I think it was I think it was either Davis.
I think it was. Yeah, that's the first name that came.
It was
to mind.
Jordan Davis and Andre Nunez, and he kept rotating them because he couldn't decide who was playing better, and both just played awfully bad. And I remember Cody Juno interviewing at halftime, and the score was like 30-3. It was just a blowout. And he asked him, "What are you going to do about your quarterback situation?" And Coach HUD just straight up said, "I don't know, man. I might have to go play quarterback because they wouldn't do much better than I would right now." And I'm like, holy crap, man.
It's so funny. This is an old Nick and John Dugas story, but we always thought that when HUD talked, we're like, "Tyler, go fix some food." That was how he talked about everything, right? And just hearing Christian or seeing Christian tell the story, I just feel like he was like, "Christian, come clear out this water." It's just ridiculous. But he was always intense. So no matter what he could have been sleeping and he's probably saying in his sleep. I don't know.
Well, Andy Thomas is asking about Brooks Hack. Brooks Hack had already transferred at that time. Brooks Hack actually went to Northwestern State after a couple years. But yeah, I think it was Andre Nunez and Jordan Davis, if I'm not mistaken. Those were the two quarterbacks rotating that year, and that became part of I call it the quarterback carousel, where from when Terrence Broadway left all the way till HUD's last year, I mean, we probably went through 17 different quarterbacks.
Anthony
Jennings.
Anthony Jennings. Then we had
Brooks
Hack, and then
Jalen Nixon.
Man, we went
Andre.
Through,
and Jordan Davis.
That's like the Cleveland Browns.
The Browns, right? It was the Brown syndrome. Just play every quarterback you
can. What's so funny is then, now we have more quarterbacks that we know what to do with. It's like we don't have we haven't really had a quarterback controversy problem. I know we kind of did for a little bit. I think we did the Wooldridge and Chandler thing for a little bit, but it was look, I'm just glad we have steady starters and glad we have guys like Chandler on the team as well. But it seems like now we have more quarterbacks than we have room for.
It's almost like insurance with our quarterback room, because you just know, knock on wood, but if something were to happen to Ben or something were to happen to Chandler, at least you've got somebody behind each one that can go out and perform. Even Daniel Beal, I would trust Daniel right now as a freshman. Now, granted, he's not going to get as much play time, but Daniel's going to be in position or in the competition to start next year against Lunch. So we do have some depth. That's good to see. We have a lot of depth, but I mean, even back then, towards HUD's last few years, there was no consistency at the quarterback at the quarterback position. I felt like after Terrence Broadway had graduated, we just did not have any type of consistency there. So it's good to have some consistency now. But speaking of quarterbacks, one of the key factors of Arkansas State that we're going to have to keep an eye on, and who basically ate our lunch last year, Jalen Rayner. Jalen Rayner, it was, I believe, the Sun Belt. Wasn't he the Sun Belt Player of the Year last year? I mean, he just destroyed us last season. He is just an all-around athlete besides quarterback. He can run. He's got a great arm. He's athletic. He's really a general in that offense. We'll talk about the three keys to victory against Arkansas State, but I mean, my number one is going to be to contain him. You contain him, you contain that offense. So it's going to be interesting to see what our defense has planned for Jalen Rayner and how we were able to contain him. Their offense has been able to put up some stats, as you mentioned, Nick. But speaking of quarterback, I'm still trying to figure out how Arkansas State got this kid and how he's not playing for a P4.
I mean, I'm sure people are asking that about Wooldridge at this point in the season, So good for them. Look, I I think we're a better team than we were last year. I mean, obviously, I don't think there's any doubt. So I think we're going to be prepared. We know what he's going to bring to the table. I have trust in Salgado. Now, do we allow yardage? You know, like I said, between the 20s, I think so. I think you're going to see them move the ball on us through the air, not on the ground. However, I have trust in Salgado that he will have the right defensive scheme ready for us. And I just think, again, Arkansas State has not at all been good against a run. I think that's going to be a key factor for us this weekend. So I go into it cautiously optimistic and hope for the best. And again, it's homecoming. I know that they're going to have a little chip on their shoulder because of our homecoming game, but I think our guys are going to be a little excited too. And hopefully we have a good crowd there, Jerry. And that's one thing I wanted to ask you about. Being in Houston, I typically rely on social media, and not just from the university, from KATC, from KLFY, from News 15, I emails, social media, etc. Haven't heard a peep about homecoming this week, man. And I think even one of our big supporters who owns a business in Lafayette tweeted out, "Hey, so what's going on for homecoming? What's the schedule?" It's on the website. You have to go dig around and find the schedule for homecoming, but what the hell are we doing, man? I mean, biggest event in Lafayette next weekend, not really competing against much. And I just don't get it. Like, why are we not trying? Like, if I didn't know and follow the team like I do, I would have no idea it's homecoming this weekend.
I don't know. It's funny. My dad has, at my grandmother's house, may she rest in peace, but I remember my dad at my grandma's house had the 1968 L'Acadien, which is the yearbook, of course. And I remember looking through it, and that was when, UL still played at the football team still played at McNaspy Stadium. There was a lot of school spirit in the yearbook, a lot of involvement with the Greeks. And I just remember looking at the homecoming, and I believe at the time they were playing Northeast that year, which of course is now ULM. And there was at least a good 10 pages in that yearbook of homecoming activities. And this is in 1968. They had a bonfire. They had all kinds of like Greeks doing all kinds of costume parties and all kind of activities leading into it. And I'm sure they're doing that on campus, but even around town, I believe they were decorating local businesses and stuff, kind of like they do with Paint the Town Red. The problem I have with that, and I'm not trying to come off as negative when I say this, but Lafayette's just not, it doesn't just consist of the same streets in downtown anymore like it did in 1968. Yes, it's one thing if you're a local business in the oil center and you want to paint your business in vermilion and white. But to me, if you want to spread the brand, now it's time to start going beyond just the old part of town, because that's what it is. By campus, it's the old part of town. I mean, hell, even where I live now, I live past the mall. I'm still in the city limits. Maybe it wasn't like that in 1968, but it is like that now. It's time to start expanding the brand and expanding the homecoming activities to places maybe as far as Milton and Youngsville, and maybe as far as where Topgolf is and all those businesses on that side of town. Because when you go on that side of town, outside of Louisiana hot stuff, you don't really feel a presence of UL unless you walk into Walk-Ons or Buffalo Wild Wings. You don't really see it, right? You don't really, I mean, you see it on the billboards, at those graphic billboards every once in a while. But I want to pass up a business on Ambassador Caffrey by the hospital where all those new businesses are. I want to see some Raging Cajun paintings and some Raging Cajun posters and, a big decoration or something like that. It's time to start expanding that beyond just, the old lords, which is technically on campus, because I feel like that's what they do. So I don't know. I just feel like if you want to expand the homecoming activities, you got to do it beyond just the old part of town. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and invite the alumni back, man. I mean, again, I've really heard nothing. I would never know anything was going on unless I was engaged, as I am. And even so, like when you have a business owner that is a huge supporter of UL, that gives a ton of money, that partners with them on a lot of stuff, on Twitter going, hey, what, on today, what's the deal with homecoming? When, like, what are the events? How do I plan for this? That sucks. That's a bad look. And going back to your comment about, expanding outside of the Saint Street areas for and maybe Freetown area or Oil Center.
Well, okay, I don't mean to cut you off, Nick, but to Christian's point now, Absolutely Embroidery and More is on that side of town on Kali Saloon. So now they decorate. Now they go all out for you.
Of course.
But they're on an island.
But
they're on an island.
But
they're the only
Jerry.
business on that side of town that does that.
But because we're God, I don't want to be negative, but it's laziness. We did our part. We went to the Saint Streets and we went to downtown and we went here and we're good. Well, no, people have, like, the fans are living in Broussard and Youngsville and Scott and Karen Crow, even New Iberia, where Des is from. Why are we just limiting this to Lafayette? Why are we not expanding it? Why are we not having, the best stop with a float in the parade? Or Don specialty meats, or Bon Creole in New Iberia, whoever. Like, why are we not engaging businesses to participate in the parade? Instead, we're going to keep it in the little vicinity of UL and say, we did our job. That's it. Those guys know about it. I didn't even know. Somebody else was asking, where does the parade start this year? Is it still going the same route? People shouldn't have to ask these questions, Jerry. People, like, having to ask the question and then pointing them to, well, it's on the website. It's a stupid, lazy excuse. It should be in our face. And again, that's why I asked you the question. How does it feel in Lafayette? Because I'm in Houston and I don't hear crap. And we rely on social media. We rely on emails. We rely on those things to find out about the stuff. And yes, I ended up finding out because I had to go dig on the website. But there has been no in-your-face marketing for homecoming of all things this season. So back to Mitch, I'm frustrated as you are. Like, I want that stadium filled up every single week, but we also have to make a better case for our fans to want to be there. And I just don't think we're doing that right now.
So I'm on my phone right now. I'm looking through my emails. Now, I did get an email from the Raging Cajun Athletics yesterday to buy tickets. As far as
that was it. That was like the only thing I got.
As far as like a homecoming parade route or anything like that, I'm sure you can get it on their social media page. But that needs to be advertised more than just a social media page.
It happened today. Twitter, they put it on Twitter today because of who, Lane, asked about it on social media. So they did it today.
I haven't
days to market this, man.
I haven't even looked. Yeah, I haven't even seen it. I didn't even know what time they were rolling until my wife told me, because they all go. My wife's a Tri Sigma alum, and all of her sorority sisters, they all go to the parade. We all go, but I know the parade's I think it's at noon this time, isn't it? Yeah.
And it also changed routes too.
See, I didn't know that.
It doesn't go through campus at all.
Yeah, it's going from the Blackham down to Cajun Field. Right.
Well, that changed about 3 years ago.
That happened last year, though.
That happened that started in 2021 after COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, it used to go through campus in the morning, but what they did was they moved it through Cajun Field through the tailgate, which we used to go on campus. We used to go to the alumni house and stand over there, but they changed it after because they were able to consolidate the crowd and kind of keep it within where everybody's going to be anyway, which I'm okay with that. Actually, I don't mind it. I do wish though that we got more notification of when the parade is actually rolling.
I hate to be this person, but do you feel like with the chance earlier in the week that we were going to have a tropical storm, plus the fact that TSAB is going to have game day in Baton Rouge, do you think that could have had an effect?
I don't care.
No, I know.
We're not weathermen, man. It's not a weather. But you get what I'm saying. That should have given us more reason to market the hell out of the game, because who knows what's going to happen with the storm? I don't care if there's a storm. You can, but you still need to be in your face and intentional about homecoming. It's home. We are 7-1. We are in the conversation for the playoff, which I don't know and think we'll probably be in this season, but we're in the playoff conversation. We're 7-1. We're right outside of the rankings, and we're not celebrating any of it. Nothing. We have nothing. I've got nothing on when, where, why I should go to homecoming.
And I feel like this happened when we went 13-1 as well with Billy.
Same
like
thing,
nothing.
man. We don't know how to handle freaking success when it's in your face. I said it last week. Appreciate the moment, because this is unusual. This is not normal. Appreciate the moment. We should be squeezing it like a lemon. Get everything you can possibly get out of this moment, because it won't happen maybe next year. Who knows? It might. But this is a stepping stone. We were having a conversation today, Jerry. The fact that we're in the playoff conversation this year helps us out for next year, because then that conversation goes into 2 seasons, and now potentially, if we do what we're doing this year, we could really be in that conversation. We've not taken advantage of any of it. And I'm sure I'm going to get hammered. I'm sure I'm going to get hammered for saying, oh, well, you're just never happy with anything we do. No, I am. But this is a golden opportunity to get people into the stadium when you have to compete with somebody down the street. I don't care who they play, what they play, anything about them. But it should be in-your-face marketing, especially because that's going on the same night, and it's crickets.
Speaking of celebrating, have y'all seen a banner of anything from the year we went 13-1?
Nope. We don't celebrate those things.
Okay.
No.
I do know that at the new stadium, once it's open, they're gonna have not banners, but kind of like what the Saints do, where they'll I don't know if the Saints do it. I forgot who does it. I was trying to think, but they'll have it on like the side of the
wall, basically.
The wall. Yeah, and they'll have each year like bowl wins, conference championships. I think I saw a graphic on it. I want to say we have a bunch of conference championships from like the 1960s. And I think we had one in like 1970 or something like that. And I think we might put one like 2005 because it was a co-championship, 2013, and then definitely 2020, 2021. I mean, I'm hoping so. I mean, I think
if they don't
be recognized.
It's bad on their part.
Yeah, but Kevin chimed in, says he's been seeing a lot of homecoming activity on social media, but his algorithm is there. Look, so is mine. And to be fair, I want to step back on this and say there's been a lot of other social media stuff going on this week with Dennis Allen, and especially with the election and everything going on. So I'm sure all of my feeds are tied up with that. But look, there's still no excuse not to have a promoted post. There's still not an excuse not to have in-your-face marketing. We can't just rely on, well, we tweeted something out and we're good. Like, it's got to be an intentional promoted post and Facebook things and, you know, all of that to get the people who don't have us in the algorithm, which, by the way, I am, and I still don't see it. But you got to be so intentional and so direct on this and tell people to come out over and over and over and over and over again till you're sick of hearing about it. That is literally what they have to do. And, I don't know, man. Again, you feel like 7-1. You should have more excitement out of the university on this. And it's, to me, again, not being in town, I don't feel it. Jerry doesn't seem like he feels it. I don't know if you feel it, Lane, but I just don't feel like there's an excitement for a team that is playing as well as they are. They deserve to have a full stadium, especially for only 23,000 every single game. No excuses. I don't care who's playing. I don't care what festival's in town. They deserve to have a full stadium every single week. And it's just disappointing. It doesn't feel like the effort's being made to do that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
And I will say this. It's a shame that we have to say it like that. But, you know, looking at social media the last 2 games when we won both at Coastal Carolina and Texas State, like looking at the reactions on the local news social media like KTC, KLFY, there's a lot of interaction with it. So people around town know that we're winning. I mean, when I go run errands somewhere and people they recognize me, or it's a friend talking about with Raging Review or UL, they know I'm a UL guy. Like, that's the first thing that comes up. Man, how about the Cajuns? Man, they're playing well. Like, people are talking about it. So I guess that's semi good, but then I would like to carry that into Cajun Field. Like, go buy a ticket and go check them out, you know? So I guess the good news is at least it's noticeable. I mean, hell, last week we posted the graphic. I mean, they're talking about the college football playoff and the percentages of teams that have a chance. And guess what? I saw the Raging Cajuns logo on there on national TV. We're in the talk for the, I mean, and I don't, my thing is, look, would I like to make the college football playoff? Absolutely. Do I think we're going to make it? Most likely no. But you know what? Being in the conversation and being in the mix, you can't put a price tag on that type of publicity. You just can't. And so obviously people around town are, again, they're definitely talking about it. I mean, I'm living proof of running into people that are talking about the Cajuns, but you know, you got to carry that into the stadium. And I think a lot of people around here, and we've fought this and we've talked about this constantly, they just watch the Cajuns from home instead. I've just come to accept that. I don't like it. I think it sucks, but you know, like you said, those players deserve support. Those players deserve to have fans show that they appreciate what they've been doing. And I mean, Jerry, this weekend it's homecoming. I mean, we usually draw the biggest crowds for homecoming. Right now, there should be no excuse. We haven't played at home in almost a month. You're playing against a familiar Arkansas State team. I mean, you know, you have a chance to be in the top 25. You have a chance to control your destiny in the conference.
Here's the problem I have, Jerry. When we played App State for the championship, it was in our face. We had head coaches on social media with videos telling us why fans needed to be there. Hell, we even did a video telling fans why they needed to be there. The mayor president was on TV telling people to be there. That we have to have that kind of intentional in your face, and it's free. Like, it doesn't cost $1 to have Deggs go and tell people why they need to be there. It doesn't cost anything to have the mayor president telling people, or Savoie, or the alumni director, or whoever out there on videos on every social media site once or twice a day telling us why we should be there. Don't forget it's homecoming. Don't forget this is happening. Do we have a free giveaway? Hell, I have no idea. What time does the parade start? I have no idea. But what a perfect way to engage with people than a video that's on social media. That's on, KATC.
You know who's the best at using that platform? Deion Sanders at Colorado.
Yeah.
He has his son who literally follows him around every day and creates like these YouTube like documentaries of him, like just a regular day in his office. Like he and his son's just hanging out, going get food, you know, little simple things. Now I'm not asking somebody to document Coach Dez grabbing lunch, but you know, one thing that Deion does, he'll literally get on his cell phone, post a video and say, hey, I need, he was looking for equipment managers. Okay. When he first got there, he literally gets on the phone for 30 seconds. Hey, who wants to be a part of this? Who wants to be a part of the culture and this change that we're about to make and do big things? I need 2 equipment managers to come join our team. We need you to come in all in and ball out with us. Who wants to join? I guarantee you there were quite a few people that signed up, but all it took was 30 seconds for him to post that video. It took 30 seconds. It wasn't an act of Congress to have to do that. And so, to your point, Nick, I agree. I think, maybe we need to do something like that, man. I know Coach Dez has done it, but get the other coaches involved. Dr. Savoie's video that he did was awesome. It was hilarious.
That was so funny. That was perfect. Great.
But do more of that. That's how people interact now. They interact through social media. It's not, look, Daily Advertiser, Advocate, all that. This is not, 1985. I'm watching my KATC KATC Good Morning Acadiana, and the commercial comes up that USL is playing Stephen F. Austin at home. That's not how it's done anymore. You got to actually go on social media, and you got to be present in the message. You can't just post game on Saturday. Like, show your face. Hey, I'm so and so. I'm a coach for this team. Come, or the Cajuns. Come join. Come to Cajun Field. Come check us out. It's not hard. It's not a hard thing to do.
Corey Andrews said it right here before you go, Lane. It's so simple to sell the Raging Cajuns brand, but we make it so difficult. We really do, man. And I think that's what made HUD so successful from a marketing standpoint, is because he got it and he executed on it. And he didn't wait for other people to go and do what he needed to do. He made people do what he needed to do. And he did it himself. I mean, he had the damn megaphone on the cart going through tailgating, say, get your asses in the stadium. He took it upon himself because he cared We need more people who care. That to me is the issue.
I will say this. They just posted a video post on Twitter saying, let's make Saturday at the Swamp the place to be.
Because they're watching.
That's
why. Because they're watching, Lane.
But
you would think that they would post something earlier in the week, too.
It is Thursday of homecoming. And now you're doing it. It's because they're watching. There you go. I will die by that sword, Lane. Jerry, wake up.
I'm taking a look. I want to see. I got a tweet right here. Cayenne made an appearance in Lafayette today for the Paint the Town Red. Yeah, that's another way of saying we need a mascot. I forgot what day we're on. We're definitely in day. At least we're over 400 now. We're like almost at 500, so almost at day 500. I'll give us an update tomorrow on what day we need a mascot on.
Can't wait.
So that's another thing about homecoming too. I always appreciate homecoming. It's always a weekend I look forward to, not only because it's a home game, but also, I will say one thing we do a good job of doing is we do have people that come back, former players. I know the Alumni Association has a ton of activities. And usually, like I said, it's usually a well-attended game. This weekend, Louisiana, the Cajuns football team will be honoring the past. They're going to be wearing old school uniforms. They're bringing the red script Cajuns helmet back, my favorite helmet. They're going to be wearing the red old school block letter Cajuns jersey with the white numbers, and they're going to be wearing the red pants with the white stripes. So basically, it's the Brian Mitchell Cajun uniforms. If you look in the late 1980s, they would wear the script Cajuns with the red on red with the white stripes. So I do like that new tradition, guys. I do like the fact that we are wearing the old school uniforms for homecoming. That's going to look pretty badass. So
yeah,
I'm
that's
pretty
great
excited
and everything.
about that.
But we got to win in the script Cajuns helmets. I mean, we got to collect that like now.
This is a golden opportunity to do just that. Yes. But look, that kind of stuff for homecoming, I do appreciate. I do enjoy that. One thing that Coach Dez and Ian and the equipment staff have done is they have found a way to bring back the past. And I'll always say, and Lane, you're wearing the hat right now, I'll always be appreciative of bringing back the script Cajuns. I'm so glad they brought that back as a secondary logo. It sells. Retro's back. Also too, this actually Friday night, I think at the Student Union, maybe, they're going to be having a ceremony for the class of 2024, the UL Hall of Fame induction celebration, class of 2024. Just want to say the following players will be honored, which include, let me see here, Bob Cole, who was a coach, head track and field coach from 1963 to 1984. Yasmin Montoya, former soccer player, midfielder forward from 2013 to 2016. Elijah McGuire will be inducted. He was, of course, running back for Louisiana football from 2013 to 2016. Stacy Grimion, former outfielder in softball from 1984 to 1987. Eddie Mouton, former baseball outfielder from 1961 to 1963. And last but not least, our good friend and friend of the pod, former Raging Cajun pitcher Hunter Moody from 2005 to 2008. Of course, one of the best left-handed pitchers that Louisiana baseball has ever seen. So congratulations to our friend Hunter. If you want to go to this ceremony, I believe it's $25 a ticket. Dinner will be served, drinks will be served, and formal attire is required. So if you want to go out and see these inductions, please go check it out. Again, congratulations to all the inductees of the UL Athletics Hall of Fame class of 2024. And if you want to also see them, if you can't make the ceremony, they will be in the homecoming parade. Each player usually has a float, so you can always go check them out at the parade on Saturday, which I think starts at noon. It'll go right through the tailgating area of Cajun Field. It's going to be interesting because I know they've got the construction going on. I think they might have changed the parade route a little bit. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that and see how that's going to work, considering the fact that the usual route is blocked off. So I do know they're going down Reinhardt Drive. I want to say maybe the parade route might be going on that side street, kind of by where the tailgating tents are. So it might be going in between the tailgate tents, but we'll definitely take a look at it when we get there on Saturday. So lots of homecoming festivities coming up this week in the next couple days before game day on Saturday. But before we move on, guys, so again, Louisiana will take on Arkansas State. Game will be at 4:00 at Cajun Field. What are your 3 keys to victory? Lane, I'll start with you. What is it going to take to beat the Red Wolves?
Limit the silly penalties, number 1. Stop their deep down the field passes and run the ball. They do not have a great defense, rushing defense, so run it down their throats.
Yeah. Damn, you stole 2 of mine. Let me think. Okay. Let's see. So outside of that, win in the trenches. That's obvious. Cut down on the penalties. I know I complained about that earlier. I think we need to do a better job of that this week, and then limit the big plays. Look, like you mentioned, Jerry, they've got a playmaker at quarterback. I think we'll be fine stopping their run, but I think at quarterback, we really have to pay attention to what he does. But also respect the run, knowing that we've struggled with that the last couple of weeks. So I think cut down penalties, limit the big plays, and win in the trenches. Aside from what Lane stole from me, I think those are the 3 keys to victory this week.
Nice. So my 3, number 1 is stop Jaden Rayner. Rayner is their offense. If you contain him and you limit him to doing a lot of things that he usually does, I think they will have much of a harder time to be able to score on us and keep up with us. I think my second key is to basically score. And I'm talking in the red zone. Don't settle for field goals. Get in the end zone on this team, because this team can score points. You don't want to make the mistake of letting Jaden Rayner get going and he's getting in the end zone and we get in the red zone and have to kick 3 or 4 field goals. That starts happening. You put yourself in a certain predicament that you don't want to be in spite of being at home. So definitely red zone scoring is important. Red zone touchdowns are important against this team. And last but not least, I also think they like to play a zone defense. Hit them with the short pass. If you have to dink and doink, do it. I think this is a golden opportunity for Ben to have a great game in his passing attack. This is a golden opportunity for our receivers and tight ends to get quite a few receptions. And I think this is a good opportunity for us to spread the field a little bit, even though we'll win in the trenches. I think this is an opportunity to open up for the pass, because we will run the football on them. I have a really, really good feeling. But, when they expect a run, hit them with the pass. So I think the passing game is going to be very important here too. So that's my 3 keys to victory. Stop Rayner, score touchdowns in the red zone, and open up the passing game. So anyway, guys, again, looking forward to the game against Arkansas State. We'll come back to our predictions against the Red Wolves at the end of this episode. But first, let's talk about what's going on around the Sun Belt Conference. Right now, your Louisiana Raging Cajuns, obviously there are 2 divisions, but if you want to look at the power rankings overall, Louisiana sits at number 1 in the Sun Belt Conference. They're also number 1 in the Sun Belt Western Division with a 4-0 record. But let's see what's going on with the other teams. Last week, again, Louisiana went to Texas State and won by the score of 23-17. Georgia State hosted UConn last Friday night. They fell to the Huskies by the score of 34-27. App State, on a little bit of a win streak, got back into the groove of things as they defeated Old Dominion at home, who was actually in first place at the time. App State victorious over the Monarchs by the score of 28-20. Marshall took on ULM at home in Huntington. Was a very, very, very good game, back and forth, but Marshall was just able to hold ULM at the last minute. Marshall Thundering Herd victorious over the Warhawks by the score of 28-23. ULM now on a 2-game losing streak. It looks like they're falling in the standings just a little bit. Troy, pretty much the shocker of the week. 1-7 Troy hosting Coastal Carolina. Coastal looking to kind of get back into their winning ways. But man, Troy looked like the Troy of the last 2 seasons. The Trojans took care of the Chanticleers at home by the score of 38-24. And last but not least, Georgia Southern traveled to South Alabama and took care of South Alabama by the score of 34-30. All right, now this week, tonight, actually at 7:00 as we speak, App State is currently on the road at Coastal Carolina. And let's take a look at the score real quick. Of course, when this is posted, it'll pretty much be over. But right now, Coastal leads App State by the score of 31-10 in the third quarter. Looks like Coastal's pretty much going to have control of this game, so I'll mark that as a win for right now. And also on Saturday, Texas State will travel to ULM. Kickoff will be at 11 o'clock. Game will be on ESPNU. Marshall will travel to Hattiesburg to take on Southern Miss. Kickoff will be at 2 o'clock on ESPN+. Georgia State will travel to JMU. And that kickoff will be at 2:30. Game will be on ESPN+. And of course, last but not least, Arkansas State will take on Louisiana here in Lafayette. Kickoff will be at 4 o'clock, and the game will be on ESPN+. All right, moving on real quickly to college basketball. College basketball season started this past Monday. We'll start with the ladies. Coach Gary Broadhead and the ladies back in action for the MAC Sunbelt Challenge. The Cajuns went to DeKalb, Illinois to take on Northern Illinois for a matinee matchup against the Huskies down there, but came up just short by the score of 57-55. They'll come back home tomorrow night. Tip-off will be at 6 o'clock as they take on the Wolfpack of Loyola out of New Orleans. That will be the home opener, and the game will be on ESPN Plus as well as 14:20 a.m. and 103.3 The GOAT, and admission will be free. Over to the men's side, Louisiana men's basketball. Louisiana Raging Cajuns opened up the season the other night again, or Monday night against Kent State. Of course, that is the men's version of the Sunbelt MAC Challenge. Louisiana falling to the Golden Flashes at home by the score of 70-66. Tonight, Louisiana hosted UT Dallas. I believe they're a D2 school. Cajuns took care of business against UT Dallas Coyotes, I believe their nicknames are, by the score of 82-65. They'll take some time off before heading over next Wednesday to Houston to take on the Houston Cougars. Game will be on ESPN Plus. You can listen on the radio on 96.5 FM. So right now, Louisiana men's basketball sits with a 1-1 record before taking on the Houston Cougars next week. Let's see here. What else? We've got Raging Cajuns soccer. This weekend, Louisiana Raging Cajuns went over to, I believe they went over last Halloween to Marshall. Louisiana took on the Thundering Herd and got a very impressive win down in Huntington by the score of 2-1. Unfortunately, I don't think that qualified Louisiana for the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. Louisiana finishes with a record of 7-5-8, 2-4-4 in conference. So give a shout out to Coach Chris McBride and the ladies for a great season this year. And, I know they'll go into the offseason making some adjustments. Showed a lot of promise this year. Couldn't quite get over the hump, but Coach McBride is definitely building something special for Raging Cajun soccer. Again, job well done, ladies, on a great season. Moving over to volleyball. Louisiana Raging Cajuns volleyball took on the Warhawks tonight. Coach Christy Gray and the ladies took care of business against the Warhawks by the score of 3-1. Just last week, they hosted Arkansas State at home at OK Long, lost both matches, lost the first match, first game by a score of 3-1, and then they got shut out on Saturday, 3-0. But again, the Cajuns took care of business tonight, got back into their winning ways against the Warhawks, 3-1, and they will take on ULM tomorrow down in Monroe at 6 o'clock, and they'll close out the year next week at home against Georgia Southern before heading over to the conference tournament down in Foley starting November 21st. Right now, Louisiana Raging Cajuns volleyball, their record sits at 7-15 overall, 3-8 in conference play. So hopefully they can finish strong enough to try to get a decent seed in the conference tournament. So best of luck to Coach Gray and the ladies, and hopefully they finish the regular season on a strong note.
Are you really going to just gloss over the fact that we only had like 100 people in attendance at basketball games this season? Like, is that going to be it?
No, if y'all want to talk about it, let's talk about it. I was about to ask y'all if y'all wanted to talk about it. Yeah, I was going to talk. So I was going to kind of glance over a little bit of basketball the other day. I kind of wanted to expand on it a little bit. I thought Kent State they outplayed us. We started the game with a 10-0 lead. Kent State, they were able to take the lead on us at halftime. We made some decent runs. We had some, I don't know, I was kind of glossing over what happened, but I think I was more frustrated in the fact that we had a 9-point lead with less than 6 minutes to go and found a way to lose. That was frustrating.
Rewind, replay about 50 games over the past 5 seasons, and that's what we do. That's what we do. It looked like street ball again on offense. Defensively, I feel bad for Hosanna because without him, we have no big man under the net. I mean, we're going to get killed on the boards this season. And outside of that, okay, outside of the play, outside of letting a game go that we probably should have won against Kent State, tonight for, I don't know, probably 3/4 of a game against a Division II team, it was close, which is absolutely ridiculous. You had 200 people in attendance. I mean, we got the pictures, Jerry. I mean, people texted us pictures. One of the students sent us something and said, I'm one of 3 people and 2 of them are my friends in the student section. Oh, by the way, if you dare sit in the wrong section, they're going to come yell at you and tell you got to move. We looked at the VIP section, which had like 6 people there. That is an indictment on the direction of the program. And yet, for some reason, the people in charge of this program refuse to see it. They absolutely refuse. It's excuse after excuse. The very small number of people who give money to this program have full control. I'm going to say it again. They have full control of the direction of the program. As long as they're on the Insiders Club, we are good. That is an indictment on the direction of our program, the leadership of our program. And it's wholly disappointing when we put all of this expectation on things like football, baseball, and softball, but basketball gets a pass because he won X number of games over the past 14 years. Well, yeah, you won those many games because you've been here for 14 years. I mean, Marty Fletcher won some games while he was here.
So the attendance, the attendance against Kent State was 1,412. The attendance tonight, 1,233. We're averaging through these 2 home games. We're averaging 1,322 fans.
And how many season tickets did we sell, Jerry? 1,100?
So
maybe?
I was told by certain people, multiple people, that we sold around 1,300 season tickets.
Absolutely. There's no way. I mean, there's no way that we sold 1,300 and then you're saying we had 1,200 in the Cajun Dome when you look around and there's 300 people there. So anyway, that's beside the point.
Well, I mean, that's 1,300 is still terrible.
Ridiculous.
That's still a terrible number.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's an indictment on our program. It's the same thing that we see every year, and people refuse to take action. So what's going to happen? The attendance is going to continue to dwindle. And look, this keeps happening. Like it's the same story. Like you said, we had a lead late in the game and we lost it. And we have you go hit 2 threes and then all of a sudden you're calling a timeout for no reason when you have all the momentum. It's the same shit we see every year and complain about. And yet it's the definition of insanity is Bob Marlin as head coach, because we keep doing it over and over again and expect different results. And
I don't even
the same results.
Go ahead, Lane. The calling timeouts while you have a lead and going on a run makes absolutely no sense. Like, what? Why?
But that's the point. That's what's so frustrating is that we see it year after year after year. And look, I will again say it. I will say when Bob Marlin won and got us into the tournament against Tennessee a couple years ago, we all said he should be extended. Now, we did not say to extend him 4 years. We said he should get another year. Like, that's reasonable because he hadn't been that great until that point. Then he gets us in the tournament. But if if 2 tournaments in 14, 15 years is the answer to this program, and we have 300 people in the Cajun Dome, I take the 2 tournament appearances and give me something else, man. Give me somebody who's going to get us fired up. The fans are done. And you can come on here and say, oh, Raging Review's just being negative. Well, you know what? Maybe I'm just being a realist and you refuse to see it. People are getting too comfortable. They're too comfortable with allowing this mediocrity and even less than mediocrity to continue on year after year. And I feel bad for the guys who are playing for us because I still, every game, cheer for us to win. But the point is, when you're playing in front of 200-300 people, that's embarrassing.
So the other night against Kent State, I'm looking at the stats right now. From the field, we were 22 of 49. Kent State was 21 of 50. We were 9 for 20 from 3-point. Kent State was 6 for 24. And so looking at these stats, they're not great for us, but at the same time, we actually beat them both on field goal percentage and in the field and in 3-pointers. So technically we outscored them there, but you know where we lost the game?
Rebounding?
Free
throws.
throws.
We were terrible at free throws.
Kent State was 22 of 28 from the free throw line. We were 13 of 21. We had a 61.9% free throw percentage. And
we
lost
find ways to lose, man. I mean, it's the same story. Again, every year. It doesn't matter. We'll find a way to lose. If it's not that, it's something else.
Again, you started the game with a 10-0 lead. You had a 9-point lead
starting
in less than
at
6 minutes.
That's what I have more of a problem with. Like, teams go on a hot streak at the beginning of the game. I get it. And teams come back. I mean, you're not gonna go into halftime with a 45-10 lead. But when you're up with 9 minutes, it's consistent from year to year. We go on the 6-7 minute streak where we don't score every year. Every game is this clump of minutes that we go and we can't do anything. And then we look like we're playing street ball again. Just when you think, okay, our offense is moving the ball well, it looks like we have a good game plan, then all of a sudden it's like everything collapses and we just start throwing the ball around. And it's, again, this is 14 years of watching this. This is not something new. So we know it's not going to change, and we know we're not going to get more attendance this season. But we're going to keep doing again. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. We're not getting different results. It's going to be the same thing. And now we have got it locked into a contract. What is the breaking point? Like, is mediocrity okay? It's not for any other program, but apparently for basketball, mediocrity is good. Doesn't matter if you don't even break even with the attendance, because I guarantee you we're losing money every single game in the Cajun Dome. That we don't care about that. It's fine. But you can't be mediocre in football. You can't be mediocre in softball or baseball. I don't have any answers, man.
No, Nick,
I just think we're unserious.
There's no answer, Nick. You just have an agenda, okay? That's just, you just have an agenda.
No, we have answers.
You
people don't want to listen.
So negative, and you have it out for basketball, and you just have an agenda. And if you question anything that's being done, you're just a negative Nelly. And
I don't care, Jerry.
I don't care. You hate the team, and
I don't. I like the guys, and I've said it multiple times. Bob Marlin, every time I have met him, has been super nice, super welcoming. I have no bad things to say personally about Bob Marlin. However, I'm going to hold him to the same exact standard I hold any other head coach. I mean, hell, we were talking about Des at the beginning of the season. I was saying if he doesn't win 8 games this season, he needs to go. We're not doing mediocrity in football. And guess what? He's stuck it up my butt.
He's doing his job. Yeah. Look, I'm reserving my thoughts on all of this. Like, I'm not getting worked up. I mean, losing at Kent State, I mean, not to be mean, but I wasn't surprised. We had a huge roster turnover. I think what bothers me about this is, look, Hosanna Contingent going down sucked. Okay. It sucked. And it's a shame because he's a great leader. He's a great guy. He's a great presence. Everything about him has an aura of just positivity and motivation and just leadership. And it's a shame what happened to him the week before the season started. But on the other hand, I hear fans talking about we're so deep. We got so much depth, and who we're going to play. And I've heard it from multiple people, but then we lose to Kent State, and what's the reason why? Well, Hosanna went down. Well, hell, man, which is it? Because Hosanna went down, or I thought we had all this depth. Which is it?
Moving the goalpost, man.
Quit with the damn excuses, man. Just own up to it. You lost to a team and you played flat. You lost.
And that's fine. I have no problem with the fact that we lost to Kent State. I have a problem with the way we lost to them. And I think that sucks because we see it time after time after time. What I'm more pissed about is how low our program has fallen, how down we are. And then I'm sure I'm going to have a tweet that says, well, the fans don't show up until the conference. Well,
the excuses. The excuses.
But
the excuses. I've heard at McNeese, and like I said, I'll hold my thoughts until the McNeese game is going to be the barometer.
We're going to get killed, bro.
Well, look, we're going to find out, but that's going to be the barometer for me. And we're going to do a post game after that game, by the way. The win or lose, we're going to do a post game after that game. And the reason why, and I'll say it now, is because, okay, so how much does NIL impact our basketball program? Is that why all of our guys transferred out? How much crutch can Big Fish use that? Okay, look here. So let me answer that. Okay. Cruel Law, and I advertised this last week or 2 weeks, or however it was, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Cruel Law had a banquet for basketball that raised money for NIL, and we raised 6 figures. Now, we don't have the money that some of these bigger schools have, but we've got some people that wrote some checks and auctioned off some good items, and it was a great event. And we probably netted around a little over $100,000. Now, is that enough to compete? Maybe not. But the way you get NIL, look over at McNeese right now. Okay. Now, that's another excuse that I've heard about why McNeese. This is McNeese. Okay. And this McNeese team had not won in over 20 years before last year when Will Wade got there. And you know what the excuse I hear from some of the boosters? Well, they have a millionaire that gives them money. What? You think if Will Wade was the coach of McNeese that they would be getting that type of NIL money? Because everybody knows the answer to it. Will Wade has created a following to where TSAB fans, diehard TSAB fans that I know, are literally writing checks to McNeese or their NIL initiative to help Coach Wade. That a lot of that has to do with the leadership. It's like with Coach Hud. When Coach Hud was here, the Cajun Air Force, he got a bunch of millionaires around Lafayette to donate airplanes for their recruiting trips because people wanted to be part of that. People want to be part of McNeese basketball. That's why their little 5,000 seat arena is selling out every game. That's why they got 3,000 or 4,000 people showing up to their games. A team that hasn't won in decades in the Southland Conference, they were getting top 25 votes. And I know people are tired of me talking about McNeese, but if McNeese can do this, why can't we?
But the thing is, Jerry, NIL wasn't a thing 5 years ago. And we were still doing we had the same, we were talking literally 5 years ago about the same crap, and NIL wasn't a thing. And by the way, the family members of those who left told us specifically, despite what some of the propaganda pushers for the program said, oh, it's all about money. No, they said it had nothing to do with money. It had zero to do with money. So let's get that out there and just say, this is not about NIL. In some cases, I'm sure it is, but you're talking about legacy players whose fathers played for this program, went to 2 other schools, and you're blaming NIL. There's a deeper problem than that, bro. I'm sorry.
Again,
but nobody wants to face it. They just want to go on their little trips to the Virgin Islands and lose to Liberty, and then we're going to play somebody we never heard of and beat them, and then it's going to be like, oh my goodness, did you see that win? It's just I was joking, Jerry, because the propaganda after the Kent State game was probably, oh, well, Kent State's undefeated, really good team, because this was the first game of the season. Like, that's literally the propaganda they put out to make you think. I mean, didn't they have a tweet that said something to the effect of the hottest team in the country plays tonight for the first game? What are you talking about, bro? What? Like, in what alternate universe were they the hottest team in the country coming in the first game of the season?
Well, that was last year. We had like a 6 or 7 game win streak, but we were beating some bad teams, and they were like, "It's one of the come check out the hottest team in the country" or something like that. And we lost the game.
But again, that's the point I'm making is like now we're playing a team with a pulse at the front end of the season, and we do what we do. We lead and then we lose. So I think look. I might go. Should I go to Houston? I'm sure I'll be welcomed by the visiting fans if I go to Houston to watch them play this week.
You
It's on
should.
Wednesday night. I work
why not?
downtown. It's not
Go.
far.
Go. Yeah, go check it out. I mean, I would. I was actually going to suggest that to you since you're going to be there anyway. I'd go.
Because I mean, I think escorted out of the Raging Cajun section if I'm there.
But the thing is, again, it's like, and again, it's early in the season. I don't want to jump the gun yet. Again, the McNeese game's going to tell us a lot.
But 200, 300 fans in the stadium, man, that's an indictment of the program. And nobody wants to talk about it with the administration. They just try to spin everything and make us look like idiots.
But everybody knows. That's the thing. Like, you don't even have to talk about it. Just watch a game. Look at the crowd. Everybody knows.
There is no crowd.
Yeah, I mean,
there's the boot and a few others.
And when are we gonna? I think the main thing I will say is when are we going? Like, if you look at baseball, softball, even football, right? Coach Dez has publicly stated our goal is the CFP. We want to make the playoff, and which means in turn, technically, you're competing for a national championship. When are we going to stop acting like the C plus, the C minus student? You get by with C's. How about we become an A, try to be an A student, right?
Because C's get degrees and C's get you contract extensions. That's why.
C for contract. There you go. C for contract. I mean, but that's just the point. Like, all of this that we're talking about, we just have this vibe that we just like being a C student.
But it's just it's this black cloud over the Cajun Dome, man. It's this black cloud, this just feeling of dread. And look, they're going to win some games this season. I'm sure they'll go on a little run. And then you can go by the book. We know every season that how it's going to go. But like, at some point, something's got to give, man. Mediocrity has to not be okay. And we've let that seep into this program because a select few with money have decided that they would rather be cool with the coach than have a program that wins consistently and exceeds expectations.
Oh, you done it now, Nick. You done it now.
I know.
They're going to come find you. They're going to come search you.
Freaking school bus is going to pull up to my house one day and try to run me over.
Look, I think, like I said, I don't want to jump the gun yet because it's still early. Let's see what happens. Look, they go to Houston next week. I mean, Houston is a good basketball team. But then they come back home against Rice. They go on that tournament. I think they go to the Caribbean, the Paradise Jam. They'll play Liberty. They got Nichols at home. They play Louisiana Tech at home. They host Southeastern, Lamar, App State, and then they have McNeese. So that's a little bit of a stretch where I'm looking on the schedule. All these games outside of Houston are winnable, and Liberty. I think Liberty is going to be a tough matchup, but these are winnable games. Let's see what happens. And let's see how we do against McNeese.
Well, we can't possibly win on the road, Jerry, because that's impossible.
Well, we're at home against them. So I hope
not for the tournament. We're going to be in the Virgin Islands. You're not even going that far out yet. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. No, I'm kind of going through December.
Gotcha.
So that's 1, 2, that's 11 games. We already played 2 of them. We've got 11 games. But
look, and still, not even talking about results, Jerry. I'm not talking about results. I'm not pissed that we lost to Kent State. I am talking about the indictment of the program, of the number of people and the lack of support that we continue to have. Embarrassingly enough, has no response from anybody in the administration except let's stay the course. At some point, the indictment has to have legs at some point. I mean, hell, you and I could go coach tomorrow and probably get more people. I mean, I'm sure they would definitely show up to see us try to coach a basketball team, especially me. I know nothing about basketball, but people just do not. I'm sorry, it's an indictment of the trajectory of the program. And even if we make an NCAA tournament this year, Jerry, which I don't think we'll do, but if we do, and I hope we do, and I want our guys to have success, getting 300 to a game is not acceptable. And we just choose to ignore it, and choose to block and tell you, don't listen to this noise, listen to us, how great everything is. I don't think I'm the delusional one, but what do I know? Anyway, we've talked too long about this. I'm sorry. I just had to go into my rant because I am so embarrassed, Jerry. I am embarrassed of
Well, the crowd suck. I mean, and some people will say, why don't y'all go to the games? Well, I got stuff to do, but you know what? There's a lot more people in Lafayette that can fill that Cajun Dome rather than the 1,200 people that were there. So to the 1,200 people that were there, I tip my hat off to you. Great. Good job. Well done.
I'll tell you what, Kevin said he'd buy season tickets to see me coach. I'd show up in Bill Belichick garb. I'd like cut off the sleeves to my shirt.
Wear like the hoodie.
And wear the hoodie. That would be me. And I'd just yell. I wouldn't even know. Like I'd have to have a good supporting cast because I'd just sit there and yell at the officials and everybody and the fans and tell people to shut up. I would just be, it would be entertaining. I'd be like Marty Fletcher, but like on LSD. Like it would be.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you want to see a crowd? Arkansas State the other night, I forgot who they played. It was the MAC Challenge. They played a school from the MAC, and they had, I think they had almost 5,000 people in their arena the other night for their home opener. It was a very impressive, very impressive crowd.
Yeah, we got 300, but announced 1,400. So,
well, I guess it's better
tonight. But hey, here we go.
It looks better than the 300 that were there.
3 students. By the way, I'm going to wrap it up with this. Can we stop with the stand until the other team scores? Because the whole point of that is like you stand and you make noise on defense because the other team hasn't scored. And you have a bunch of like 70-year-olds standing up with their hands in their pockets for 10 minutes because Kent State didn't score. It looks silly. Is it just me? Like, to me, the standing until the other team scores should be a thing where you're trying to get into the game and yelling and screaming. When you have 12 people in the stands and they're all over the age of 65 and they're not yelling, I don't see the point in it. I think it looks silly. Is that just me?
No, I mean, I don't care. Whatever.
I
don't care. That's so whatever.
Outside of this conversation. I just think let's do away with that, man. It's not working.
Lane's just been sitting there just listening to us rant. Lane, you got to talk, man. You got to say something.
Lane is
here.
laughing at me because I'm just going in so many different directions tonight.
Lane, talk to us, man. I mean, you go to the games. What's your vibe?
I haven't been to a game yet this year, but the pictures I've seen haven't been great. I feel like in order to boost attendance, something has to happen. They have to go on a long win streak or maybe get a new coach. I don't know.
Yeah, but Lane, like even when I was a student, okay, we didn't have the best teams, but people still showed up.
Yeah.
You know, like hell, the teams that were there when I was in school were actually worse than what we're seeing now. And fans still showed up to games. Like students showed up and we made noise and we would stand behind the basketball goal and give the opposing bench all the hell we could give them, you know. That's not there anymore, you know. And I'm
trying to remember what year was the Fear the Beard promotion.
That was my senior year, 2011.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, that was
a fun year.
That was, man, I was like in the front row,
yeah.
And that was a blast. Like I remember my buddies and I would be in the front row. We'd lead the cheers. Like we would literally, start the defense cheers. Like we were going like the Duke Cameron crazies. Like that student section was lit, man.
I was doing the music. I was actually sitting way up top in over the 300s in the control room and looking down. They had people in the third section, the third level. And they even brought out, it was like old school throwback with the newspapers, when they read the other teams.
Yeah.
Like that's what I miss. And even then, like everybody was on the same page. The coaches, the players, the administration, the marketing. It was a push. Yeah. There is not that whatsoever anymore, and it stinks.
And y'all have said it before. They got to make it an event for people to want to go.
That was an event. Those days.
I remember that year.
Fun.
They had all the little head, that little face things, and all that. That was fun.
They were
That's
fun.
That's what we need, man. But we just gave up.
And that was the beauty of that was like whenever, and that's when we went on that 11-game win streak. And towards the end of the win streak, towards the end of the season, the crowds got bigger and bigger. And I remember the last two home games. I think it was Western Kentucky. We had over 7,000 people. And then we had the final Thursday night game against Denver, and we had like 8,000 people. And I just remember being in class on campus and talking to friends, and everybody was going to the basketball game. It was hey, let's meet up. Where are we sitting? What are we doing? It was
Oh,
It
dude,
was the
I
talk
think it
of
was
the
that
town.
Denver game where they still had the coach that did the Princeton offense because he coached at Princeton, and
slow pace too, man.
it
They
was,
didn't really,
but they just passed, like they just
right.
passed.
They
And it was
scored no
But
scoring.
man, after that game was over, like they had players on the table like yelling at the student section.
We were debating whether or not to storm the court. I remember because like a few of the students behind the bench behind where the Raging Jazz usually are, they were debating because I was kind of standing in between. So like I was on the first few rows. And I remember that night because that was Lorian Gary's, like it was a senior night, and he just went. I mean, he scored. He had a hurt knee, and he scored like 25 points. I mean, he just went off. And I remember a few of the students behind the basketball goal debating whether or not, like, do we storm the court? And I remember like there were 2 or 3 students that actually tried. But like, man, when we knew we were going to win that game, I just remember like it felt like a mosh pit in the student section because we were debating whether or not we should do it. But it was just it was so loud. It was exciting. Again, the Cajun Dome had over 8,000 people at that game. The place was rocking. It was just so much fun. And I remember what was great about it was we had the win streak where we played ULM that Saturday, and a few friends of mine and I, we actually went up for the game. We had a ton of fans of Monroe that we brought up there. And so it created some excitement. And at the time, I want to say we had just hired HUD, and HUD was new, and he was going to the games. And at the time we were kind of hungry for a winner because football had a bad season. Baseball wasn't quite up to par of where they were. And then you started seeing basketball win, and you could just tell that the fan base was just wanting to hold on to something. And so that was so great because when basketball started doing that and started pulling off wins against teams that were technically considered upsets in conference, that's when it really started to catch on. And again, the crowds just got bigger and bigger and bigger. I remember in the beginning of the win streak, we had like about 4,000 people. Then we played Little Rock and it went up to 5,000. And then we won 2 games in Florida back-to-back against FIU and FAU. And then Western Kentucky, we had 7,000. And that was awesome. And that was also Bob Marlin's first season here too. He was a new coach, but that was 2011, I think.
Yeah. And to go back a little bit, I just want to say, I know Glenn Cyprian, that hire changed the trajectory of the basketball program, because a little bit of history for those young ones who don't remember back then, Jesse Evans was very successful as a coach. Jesse Evans, us and Western Kentucky had knockdown, drag out fights. I mean, it was like literally every year, it's like, who's going to the dance? Is it going to be Western or us? Jesse Evans recruited the best talent we've probably ever had here outside of Alfred Payton. Now, I will say questionable character guys, but he won games. It was an exciting atmosphere. We had fun. He was approachable. He was on TV. It was a great atmosphere. We hired Glenn Cyprian after he leaves. By the way, he left to go to San Francisco to coach there, but whatever. He left. Glenn Cyprian's hired, and before he coaches one game, we find out the guy lied on his resume and never graduated from college. Yeah. Fire him. We go and then say, well, then we'll let Robert Lee, who's an assistant coach the team. I think he had a good first season with the talent from Jesse, and then absolutely poo-pooed the bed the next couple of seasons. So when we hired Bob from Sam Houston State, holy cow, we thought we had the get. Like, we were like, oh my God, we have a Division I head coach from Sam Houston who wants to come coach for us. Like, this is the deal. And for the first few seasons, let me tell you, he had the players. We were rocking. Something happened. And it's not about him as a man or him as a coach, because I got to tell you, every single player and coach outside of the last few transfers love the man. Think he is a great man. I have no doubt he is a great man. Again, he has been super nice to me. I know other people's children have different interactions with him, but I had wonderful interactions. Can't say a bad thing about the guy. But again, something has happened where we just accept now, instead of trying to build on success, we accept success and then mediocrity, and then success and then mediocrity. Again, we should hold every single coach to the same standard in this program, and it is unfortunate. And I think I have my reasons why. I'm not going to say them publicly why I think that is the way it is. I will just say people are too comfortable nobody is made to feel like they're on the hot seat ever. And I think it's gotten too personal with maybe some people who are in charge with the coaches. I think once you get too personal and too comfortable with them, then they kind of get to this kind of stuff happens. I think there needs to be a line between the people in charge and the people who are coaches. I think that's blended right now, and I think that has a lot to do with it. But anyway, mediocrity is never okay in any sport, and especially in the second biggest sport and what should be our moneymaker, drawing 300 a game, embarrassing.
Well, the culture needs to change. And I'm talking about not just not the locker room culture, but the aura, the entire culture of the program needs to change as far as building excitement, finding a way to market, finding a way to get people in the stands, regardless of who the coach is. Like, there needs to be something that has to be done. But the thing is,
let's go back to my comment. The whole reason for my comment is if Glenn Cyprian didn't, like Daryl said, the facts guy, if he didn't lie on his resume, and actually, I mean, the guy's a good coach. Like, that could have literally changed the entire history of Raging Cajuns basketball. Like, imagine if he would have continued that success Jesse brought and built upon it. I mean, who knows where we would be now? And again, credit to what Marlon did when he got here, because he got us out of the Robert Lee era, which was not great. And then, we did some nice things. But at some point, you have to look at yourself in the mirror, and we just refuse to look at the mirror. We just want to say, oh, no, ignore what you say. It's like the propaganda, like when you see all the news on TV where they're telling you one thing, but the truth is something else. Ignore what you see in front of you.
Psyop.
Believe
it's a psyop.
What I'm saying. Yeah, believe
psyop,
me, ignore everything else. And I just think people, look, Cajuns, they can see through BS, and I think they see through this BS, and that's why we have 200, 300 fans a game.
I'm trying to remember, what year did they move the student section away from the visiting bench? I feel like that's when the quote unquote fun stopped.
When they redid the Cajun Dome, which was in 2016.
Okay,
I thought it was earlier, but that might make sense. Yeah,
it was around that time because
God, I'm old. It seems like we redid the Cajun Dome like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was in 2016 they removed it because of the fact that now you had seats behind the basket, which was wide open for students. So yeah, that's when they moved it.
I feel like that's when the switch kind of happened for at least the students' perspective, as far as
maybe
or not making an event.
I mean, possibly, but we'll see what happens. I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. I'm not gonna worry about it right now. All I know is that they've got about 10 games before conference to really prove what type of team this is and what we can expect before conference play, because it's one thing to play Lamar and Southeastern and UT Dallas, but when you start having to play ODU, JMU, App State, and Arkansas State and Southern Miss and teams that are really good in conference play, that I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, guys, before we close it out, so this weekend the Cajuns look to extend their win streak to 6 games. It's going to be a tough matchup, I think, against Arkansas State. It's going to be a good challenge. I'll give my prediction first. We'll do predictions. I'll give my predictions first. I think Arkansas State's going to score on us a little bit early on, but I think we're going to hold them in the second half. I think our offense is going to be clicking on all cylinders. I don't expect a blowout. I do expect a double-digit win. I expect the usual 10-point win. I like the Cajuns 31-21 over Arkansas State on Saturday. What do you guys think?
So I think, look, because I was so successful on my last prediction, I'm going to go with it again. Not the same prediction, but I'm going to have faith that it will come into fruition. So I think the Cajuns will win 38-24.
I think we pull away late with our rushing attack. I feel like we'll win 31-14 or 35-14.
All right. So each of us have double-digit wins. I've got the closest margin. Nick, you like it by 2 touchdowns. Lane, you like it by 3. We all predict wins. Let's just get the W. The W. We'll be 8-1. Chance to go 5-0 in conference play and one step closer to winning the West and not only making the championship, but host it. But we got to take it 1 week at a time. And that starts this Saturday against Arkansas State, because yes, it is homecoming 2024 down here in Louisiana. Louisiana Raging Cajuns will take on the Arkansas State Red Wolves. Kickoff once again at 4:00. Game will be on ESPN Plus. You can listen on Hot 107.9, 103.3 The Goat, as well as 1420 AM. Jay Walker, Coney Juno, and Dawson Iserlo will be on the radio waves if you want to tune in and listen to them as well. And so if you're not doing anything this weekend, I'm hoping if the rain stays away, should be a lot of homecoming festivities on Saturday, including the parade. Again, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of alumni dinners. And, actually, my wife and I, we usually meet up with some of her sorority friends. It's tradition every year for homecoming. So there's going to be a lot going on around town. But look, go support these guys. All right. This team is 7-1. We're pretty much a top 30 team in the nation. We're in talks for a CFP playoff berth. This team is the best start in 3 years. They're fun to watch. They're gritty. They don't quit. This is probably one of the most mentally tough teams I think I've seen this field in a very long time. So these kids deserve it, guys. Go check them out. Go buy tickets and participate in the homecoming festivities. Show up to Cajun Field at 4:00 and cheer on the Cajuns to victory. Guys, any final thoughts before we sign off?
Let's get a dub, baby, and get to 8-1. That's all I got.
Let's continue the winning ways.
There we go. Well, fellas, thank you so much for joining tonight. If you like what we do, please like, subscribe. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. You can also listen on Spotify or Apple iTunes. And we will be back Saturday evening following the hopeful win against Arkansas State. We'll take your calls, comments, and analysis in our usual post-game show. So please join us, and hopefully there will be a lot of happiness for win number 8. That's going to do it here for tonight. As always, guys, I'm Jerry. That's Nick. That's Lane. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you Saturday night following our homecoming matchup against the Arkansas State Red Wolves. Once again, if you can make it, please make it out to Cajun Field and support the Cajuns. And last but not least, in the words of the late great Big Dave Thibodeau, bye, we out of here. See you Saturday night for the post game and more Rage and Review. As always, everybody, go Cajuns.